The rain outside matched the storm brewing inside me. I stared at the front door, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. Any minute now, Mark would walk through it, home from his business trip a day early. "A surprise," he'd said on the phone, his voice filled with a cheerful warmth that now felt like a cruel joke. A surprise. The irony was a bitter taste in my mouth. For the past 6 months, my life had been a carefully constructed lie. By day, I was Sarah, Mark's devoted wife of 10 years. We had the perfect house in the suburbs, the matching cars, the life everyone envied. But by night, I became someone else. Someone who met a man named Alex in dimly lit bars. Someone who thrived on the thrill of a secret, the rush of a stolen kiss. It started innocently enough. A chance encounter at a coffee shop while Mark was away on one of his frequent trips. Alex was a musician, all intense eyes and easy laughter. He saw me, not as Mark's wife, but just as Sarah. He listened. He understood the quiet loneliness that had crept into my perfect life. What began as a friendship quickly spiraled into something more, something dangerous and intoxicating. I told myself it was just a phase, a temporary escape. I loved Mark, I really did. He was a good man, steady and reliable, but somewhere along the way, our love had become comfortable, predictable. The spark had faded, replaced by a quiet routine. Alex was the spark, the fire I didn't know I was missing until I felt his warmth. My phone buzzed on the counter. A text from Alex. "Thinking of you. Tonight was amazing." I quickly deleted it, my fingers trembling. The evidence of my betrayal, erased with a single tap. But you can't erase memories, can you? You can't delete the scent of another man's cologne from your hair, or the ghost of his touch on your skin. I busied myself, tidying an already immaculate living room. Straightening pillows, wiping invisible dust from the coffee table. Anything to keep my hands from shaking, my mind from replaying the last few hours. The lies I'd have to tell. "Oh, I just had dinner with Jessica," I'd say. We lost track of time. The story was ready, polished from overuse. The sound of a key in the lock sent a jolt of pure panic through me. I froze, my back to the door. I squeezed my eyes shut, took a deep breath, and turned, forcing a smile onto my face. "Mark, you're home!" He stood in the doorway, rain dripping from his coat, his travel bag slung over his shoulder. He looked tired, but his eyes, usually so full of love when he looked at me, were different. There was no warmth, no happy surprise. Just a quiet, unnerving stillness. "Hi, Sarah," he said. His voice was flat, devoid of emotion. He didn't move to hug me. He just stood there, looking at me. Not at my face, but through me, as if he could see every secret I was hiding. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. It was louder than any accusation he could have yelled. In that one silent look, I knew. The carefully built walls of my double life began to crumble, brick by brick. How was your trip?" I stammered, my voice barely a whisper. The practiced smile on my face felt like a grotesque mask. He closed the door softly behind him and dropped his bag to the floor with a heavy thud. He walked past me into the living room, his gaze sweeping over the space as if seeing it for the first time. He stopped by the fireplace, his back to me. "I came home early," he said, his voice still unnervingly calm. "I wanted to surprise you. I went to your friend Jessica's house first, thought we could all have a late dinner together." He turned his head slightly and his eyes met mine in the reflection of the dark television screen. "Funny thing is, she wasn't home. Her husband said she's been out of town visiting her sister for the past 3 days." The floor beneath me seemed to disappear. The air was sucked from my lungs. Every lie, every carefully crafted alibi, unraveled in that single moment. There was nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. His calm was so much worse than anger. It was the calm of a man who had already processed the pain. A man who had seen the truth. and accepted it. I opened my mouth to speak, to deny, to explain, but no words came out. What could I say? The truth was written all over my face, in my trembling hands, in the guilt that was surely radiating from me like heat. He turned to face me fully. The look in his eyes wasn't hatred. It was worse. It was a profound, bottomless disappointment, a deep, aching sadness that cut me deeper than any angry words ever could. In that moment I saw the full extent of the damage I had caused. I saw the man I loved, the man I had built a life with, looking at me like a stranger. "Sarah," he said, and my name sounded foreign on his lips. "We need to talk." And in the crushing weight of that silent look, I knew my life, the perfect life I had taken for granted and carelessly thrown away, was over. The storm wasn't brewing anymore. It had arrived, and I was standing right in the eye of it, with nothing but the wreckage of my own choices surrounding me. There were no more secrets, no more lies. There was only the quiet, devastating truth, and a husband whose silent gaze told me everything. He knew, and I couldn't hide it anymore. The conversation that followed wasn't a fight. There was no shouting, no slammed doors. It was a slow, painful dissection of our marriage, of my betrayal. Mark listened as I confessed everything, the words spilling out of me in a torrent of shame and regret. He didn't interrupt. He just sat there, his face a mask of weary resignation. He already knew most of it. A suspicious credit card charge, a friend who had seen me somewhere I shouldn't have been. He'd been putting the pieces together for weeks, hoping he was wrong. His early return wasn't a whim. It was a final, desperate test. A test I had failed spectacularly. Looking at him, seeing the deep lines of pain etched around his eyes, I finally understood the magnitude of what I had lost. It wasn't just the thrill of a secret affair. It was the trust, the security, the unwavering love of a good man. I had traded a diamond for a piece of broken glass, and now all I had were the cuts. The journey ahead would be long and uncertain, filled with therapy and difficult choices. But that night, under the weight of his knowing gaze, one thing was clear. The healing, for both of us, could only begin with the end of the lies. Thank you so much for watching. It's stories like these that remind us of the complexities of human relationships and the consequences of our choices. If you found this story compelling, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. We'd love to have you as part of our community. See you in the next video.